Welcome to the channel, and what can I say? After nearly a 5-year development cycle, the Workers and Resources Soviet Republic is finally left early access. The full release came out on the 20th of June 2024. In this video, what I want to do is go through a number of quality of life changes which have been added as part of the full release. Now, I'm not going to go through them in great detail, but I want to, but I feel that it's quite important to kind of go through them and just show what an impact they will have on the game. Also, I've got an apology for anyone who's been following this series. This is my guided tour for new players. What I've been up to is that, and this is particularly important to anyone who's watching this series post the full release, I was playing on the pre-release version and deliberately did not go to the full release version until it was officially released. The reason for that is that I wanted to emphasize to new players that Free Division throughout their development cycle have been very good at preserving existing save games. The only time that they kind of caused a bit of a headache was when they introduced a new major mechanic. But what used to happen is that mechanic would be added as an option that you could switch on and switch off, which then gave the player to either carry on with their existing series or restart the new mechanic enabled. Or if you were feeling particularly adventurous, what you could do was integrate the new mechanic into an existing save game. Now, I did that several times over the course of the development cycle. I will say it was both a source of delight and frustration. But the only tip I would say that if you're going to do it, if a new mechanic comes out in the future, just get yourself a great big pile of money, because you're going to have to auto build everything to fit it in depending on the update. So that's an explanation to anyone who's a new player following this series, wondering why I didn't just do the whole series on the full update. I just wanted to emphasize that position. Plus the fact that I wanted to make a lot of this series before the full update came out. So what I'm going to do now is start going through all the different quality of life changes and talk about them in general. Now, the first one I'll talk about seems insignificant, but it will have quite a big impact on the game. That is the fact that Free Division seem to have reviewed all the base game storage factories by base game. I'm talking about structures that have been with us for a very long time, many from the game first went into early access. And what they've done is seem to have gone through, reviewed all the various things. So like, for example, this open storage. If you watch the previous part in this series, you'll be where I built this storage here, and it only had 3 connectors. Now with the full release, you can see we've now got 5 connectors, and more importantly, we've got 2 connectors facing in the right direction, because one of the problems we always had with this small storage was trying to get that orientation. Anyone who watched the previous video, be aware that I was fiddling around trying to get all this fitted together, and that was deliberate, so for some preparation for this video. That also applies to the small aggregate store, which I've had a love-hate relationship with for a very long time. And the problem with the small aggregate store is it always used to have 2 inputs and 1 output. What you can see now is it has 2 inputs and 4 outputs, which gives it a lot more flexibility. Now, these changes cover a wide range of buildings that had that type of problem. Another area you'd find it is in the gravel processing plant, and you can see here what this gravel processing plant now has gained some extra output connections as well at the end here, where originally it used to come in at one end and go out the other end. Now you've got the option to be able to go left and right. As I say, it covers a wide range of buildings. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm sure somebody's going to make a video that does it. I just want you to be aware that a lot of that major revamp will have a significant impact on the way that you can lay out your certain key areas. And if anyone is going to stick with this series, you're going to see that in operation up here when we build our construction industry in the next part. Now, the next thing I want to show you is, I have to admit, it kind of caught me out when I first saw it, because I'm used to the gaming conventions. And if I kind of go out here, and you can see here, the substations now have what appears to be multiple connectors. And my immediate first assumption when I saw this was, oh, well, it means we can send power onwards. Well, the truth is, it doesn't work that way. Best way to do it is, I've got a power. What I could do is disrupt this one, actually, because we got an underground power cable. I'm just going to demolish this one, because The old connector only had one input. And what I'm going to do is just come in here and get rid of this road here. Of course, this is going to complain. It will say you are without a power supply. That's okay. We're just going to build it straight back again. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to tuck you, just build you there, put you in there. To go underground, I think this is a, just have to trim that back a little bit. I think this is a, oh, one other change is that the underground power cables now have actually been boosted up a little bit, because one of the things that was always slightly annoying was the fact that the electro substation has a maximum capacity of 2.5 megawatts, and that was always a little bit frustrating. Say for example over here, I can find the substation, it's in here somewhere, there it is, just there. You can see that this is well, it's actually, there's more wattage being drawn at the moment. It says 5.98 because it's over the top, but the maximum is 2.5. Now, let's see, this is overloaded anyway, so maybe we need to put some more power into this area as well. Maybe that's a good way to put an example in. In fact, we'll actually do that while I'm thinking about it. But anyway, get back to what I was saying is that this is a 2.5 megawatt. And when you look in here, the maximum was always 2.35 megawatts. Now, what you can do now is we'll just do it here as an example, seeing I've got to fix this anyway. So what we'll do is we'll just put in that there, just build it. Now, we go down underground. We've got some power connectors here. I'm going to go underground, and what I'm going to do is just going to hook that to there. Just let that build. Now you can see that the all connected buildings is 195%, but you can see here this is drawing 1.98 of 79%. But because we've connected this cable here, it's only 1.85. But say for example, ignore this and then pretend that this was a single reserve. What you can do now is if you add this one to this one, so we kind of take out another power cable. Oh, we're going to have to go down a bit. Oh, it's probably sometimes it, yeah, it's. What you do now is you can put two power cables in. Now, of course, it's not going to show here because this is a draw. But what that means is that this substation now is delivering the full 250. And I have to admit, this really attracts me because one of the reasons why I never really liked using underground power cables and inside of a kind of city like this was the fact that you couldn't get more than 1.85 in, or less than that. Actually, I think it was 1.65. So this is quite a significant thingy bob. I'll just put that in as well. I can get the fire connection. So hopefully that makes sense, guys, but it does help enhance with your overall design. And of course, what this means is it pulls this guy down to 110. It's a bit overload, which means we probably need another substation over here. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the technical office. What they've done now is that originally it used to be 3,000 meters. Now it's 3,500 meters, which if I zoom out a long way and then we go over here, you can see it gives a range of, in fact, I think if I probably built these roads, it would probably come out to about here. So that gives the technical office a wide range of coverage. The other thing is that you can actually set a precise distance. So if you wanted 1,200 coverage, like that. It also applies to the vehicle repair yard if you are playing with that enabled. That's the area where I think the 3,500 would be a lot more useful, is if you want it, because vehicle repair yards, and this also comes down, I think you can also, if you've got the auto detect switched on in the construction office as well, this will go to 3,500 as well. So the two most useful buildings is a construction office because you can push out the auto detect a lot wider. The technical office with respect to waste collection. I know it's outside the remit of this series, but with respect to waste collection, and now apologies because I'm explaining this without waste enabled, is that you can get into a scenario like when you've got here that you need to cover your residential area with a technical office to collect the domestic waste, but at the same time you want a technical office out here covering your industry. By being able to customize the distance, what that will mean is that you will be able to set a distance so that the technical office doesn't go wandering off across the map to sort out other things. And I think that also applies to possibly vehicle repair as well. That if you wanted, say, for example, to only repair a certain really small area which is full of specialized buildings, you can drop the distance down. And of course, the other thing with respect to maintenance, which is vehicle and building maintenance, is that as your economy expands, you will need to increase your coverage. So, for example, say, and again, apologies that we're talking maintenance on a game where it doesn't have it enabled, but say, for example, this was our maintenance construction office, and it was on auto detect, and 3,500 meters. If I just show you here, we come to the measurement tool. I come out 3,500 meters. So you can see that this will come out way out round here, and that if we kind of move it round there like this, come into about here. What it means is that you could put a strategically well placed construction office, say in an area between two towns or three towns in this case. If say if we put it out about here, you could cover 3 towns with a construction office purely in maintenance mode. That would certainly help with the logistics. That out of the way, we're now going to move on to a couple of new buildings that have been added to the game. One is quite intriguing. When I saw it, I thought, why have you put this building in? And it's in, I think it's in monuments, and it's children's playgrounds. These children's playgrounds, it says kids sport enjoyment influence 3% for 100 meters. Wondering whether this is a little bit of a thought process by the devs to introduce something new to the game. And again, we're just going to drop that in there and just let it build very, very quickly. Oh, I was about to say that there's no through traffic, but there's obviously through traffic. They can move through this building in one go. That opens up a possibility. I can think of 2 reasons. One is that you're going to improve the sports on children. I don't know if that's going to make them overall healthier. The other reason is that if you could use this to extend the range of your footpaths by 100 meters. Is it 100 meters? Let me just do a quick measure. You may guess I'm completely off script now. No, it's about, this is 34 meters. That will make sense when in a little while when I talk about pergolas. But before that, I just want to show you, I think it's in here. What we've also got now is an amphitheater. This is an open, I don't think I can fit it in there. You can see what this does is it acts as a cultural building. But you can see the problem with this is the fact that it will not operate when the temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius. We could probably do a little bit of culture down here anyway, so just let this build. And you can see what you've got here is like, it's like an open theatre where people can sit and somebody, an orator or musicians could stand in the centre. Now there is also another one here. And you've got this thing. This thing is massive. This is a city stadium. I'm not going to build it because it won't fit with this city, and I don't want to keep blowing money. But this is a very big building. This is what I would say if you're building a major city and you want something that's going to really pop out. And you can see, again, this is going to affect sport, but it won't work with temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius. Of course, because football players are a little bit more harder than people who come into here. So we already get people coming into our amphitheatre. Now I'm going to return to what I was talking about here, because When I saw this had been added to the game, I was a little bit confused over what purpose it would be. It's in footpaths. It's actually called pergolas. There's two versions, and you can see there's no special attribute to it. At first I thought maybe it would like improve happiness, but I was then kind of fiddling around with it, trying to find out why you would want to do it. And I want to show you this here. I'm going to try and see if I can actually do this, because it's actually about 10 meters long. And the only reason, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, because this is something that I thought is that you can increase the range of your footpath. So let's put this up to asphalt like that by 10 meters, but I'm not sure if that will work. Again, I'm kind of making this up on the hoof. I wonder if how close is this guy? That's still 410, but he has kind of, I wonder if I take out this footpath and then we put in another pergola there, and the game would just upgrade the I hadn't connected that. Yeah, you can see by putting two pergolas in now, I've extended the range to bring this extra block of flats in. It's a way that, say for example, you've got a situation where you need a building's just slightly out of range. Maybe inserting a pergola will make a difference. The only thing I will say is that I did check this in a realistic series. It is subject to maintenance. So you're adding to your maintenance load if you include these in your buildings, because it's maintenance as opposed to machinery. Residents should be able to walk through it while it's actually being repaired. Next thing I want to talk about is that if you're watching the series, you'll see that we now got color coding here over on the level of your messaging. The brown envelopes are down to the fact that it's simply down to the fact that it's a mixture of old and new. But more interestingly, from my point of view, is you've now got notifications down here. Now the brown ones are hangover from the pre-full release, and you see that we've got green ones coming in now. More importantly, this is something that always used to annoy me, is the fact that to configure the warning notifications, you had to go out back to the starting menu and change them and come back in again, because sometimes you may want to find out about certain things like heating problems during the winter. But of course down here you can see you've got the graduations, you've got custom notifications, informational notifications, important notifications, and urgent notifications. I think that's meant to be red, but for some reason mine is brown. So that makes the messaging a lot more useful. In fact, what I think I'll do is I'll just zap this just to kind of avoid the confusion. Okay guys, just to wind this video up, I just want to show you one more thing, which is the devs have done some work on the financial overlays now, which means that you can get a lot better breakdown of what you're exporting when you export it with these block diagrams. So the problem with the old ones was that they tended to be, the prints was so small and it was very difficult to actually see what was going on. Now you can get a breakdown of what's going on and what's being exported and what's being imported. More important, you can see the surges that is happening. That also applies to export prices. If you come into here, so you can see things like we're exporting food on a regular basis. And I think if we go kind of increase this up a bit, whoops, going the wrong way. So if we go back in history, you can get a wider range, and you can see where there's gaps in, and it also gives you an idea of the pulse. So you can see like clothing pulses at regular intervals, and I think this is a lot more relevant when you're actually sorting stuff out. The other thing that you can do, I'm not sure if it does it right. They've also seemed to have tidied up some of the graphs and made some of the print a lot more clearer as well, because price fluctuations is something that you do need to be aware of, especially for, say, if we go to crops. Where's crops in here? Yeah, the crops have been fairly flat over this year, but if we do all, what you'll see now is you can see and the nice thing is now that you can actually run the cursor over here. I think you could always do this, but it was always a bit sketchy. But you can actually see the prices. Now these spikes, when they all go up, is often the result of an actual event. So, but sometimes you'll see the price increase where you are, or decrease when you've been doing something that's actually altered the price values going forward. So this is a bit of overlay. I'm not sure. Yeah, and this is, again, this is something else where things are, you can kind of get a whole profile of your population, because again, in the past these charts were very flattened and it's very difficult to see the actual fluctuation. And if you come to say like unemployed workers, you can see it's we've had spikes of up to 300 people of unemployed. That's probably because I've been messing around. But this is the type of graph that you do want to see, where there's a steady growth of actual population. This is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. Any questions, comments, feel free to put it in the video description. If I've missed out something that was part of the release, feel free to chuck it in and take a look at it, because I think I've covered everything. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.